I made this.
Steve Blythe Racenstein for windowcleaningmagazine.co.uk, and we're here in Amsterdam 2016 at the Interclean show talking to GrippaTank. Next up at GrippaTank is the Totaliser controller, and why don't you walk us through, Oliver?
Okay, so what we figured was there's lots of systems out in the market with a static system, works lovely, and then the way of getting the water from your submersible in your reservoir tank into the van, you've got this massive pile of messy hose, etc, etc. There's no intelligence to it. So the Totaliser controller takes it up to the next step, really. You've got something as simple as your trigger. As you pull the trigger, the system will kick into life. Okay, that's the simplest function. As you release it, it turns the submersible pump off. Okay. But more importantly, the controller itself has a really clever ability to be able to program it. So say you've got an 850 litre the system, you can program it 850 litres save, and it will decant 850s and then switch off. So you can effectively leave the system filling and it will do its job. But for bigger companies, you've also got the ability to totalise. So you can set your price per litre. As that transfers the water through, at the end of the cycle it will come up with £6, £12, or whatever it may be. So for guys selling water, it's a really useful feature. But then on top of that, the most important thing, especially for guys in America where the water is hot, if you've got a massive reservoir of water, 10,000 litres, and that water is sitting there, after 24 hours it can become stagnant and you can get bacteria build-up.
Sure.
So this system has a countdown timer which is fully configurable, 24 hours, 6 hours, 2 hours. If it sees within that period that you haven't decanted water off, it will start circulating water through a UV system, circulate it through the reservoir of water, back into the tank, and so you're making sure that the water you are delivering to your customers or to your vans is kept protected and clean. And that's it, really.
Don't want Legionnaire's disease impacting their cleaning process.
Yeah, it's an interesting comment as well, because that's the immediate problem that people think of, Legionnaires, but actually there are millions of bacteria, which, okay, may not actually be of damage to a person, but that bacteria is still going to start to cause the water impurity to go up. So
Legionnaires is the poster child for the process that
absolutely, yes, indeed. And in the UK, Legionnaires everywhere, but in the UK, the actual trigger point for that is fairly high. However, it is still something you have to take into consideration, especially when you've got the responsibility of distributing water out to your employees or out to customers.
So take us through the operation of the controller and what they might see and use as a daily interface, and then how you set it up.
Okay, so obviously first things first, you're going to plug your transfer pump into that, whether that's been supplied by us or whether that is your own pump. That plug can obviously be configured for various countries. The actual fill mechanism you can set to fill on demand, so literally we've set it filling. Once it's decanted the amount of water that needs to be decanted, it will turn itself off. I'll just switch this off. It gives us the last litrage that was delivered the previous time, as well as the cost. So in total we've dispatched from this system 348 litres out into the wide world.
Since the last reset?
Absolutely, yeah, that's it. Time until the flush. So on this particular controller we've programmed it for 24 hours. If within that 24 hours we haven't decanted, she's going to switch the UV system on and start transferring water. Then got your TDS output, which is going to give you the confidence that as you're delivering that water, you can monitor that you are actually delivering pure water.
And the TDS out is the default display, so you always see how you're doing?
Absolutely, yeah. As well as then you can look at your temperature as well, so for the hotter countries you can regulate and see what's happening with the water and whether you've got risk of beginning to build up bacteria and whether you need to set it into a recirculation quicker than the 24-hour period.
So if your tank is sitting with residual water in it, you'll want to contemplate something like that to keep it nice and fresh.
Absolutely. And let's take Legionnaires and everything out of the equation. What about the fact that you could have some slime in the bottom of your tank, which you're then transferring into the next tank? It might not be dangerous to you, but it's still a build-up which is going to damage the pumps, damage your strainers, etc., etc.
And is this storing RO water or TDS, low TDS water, like pure water, or both?
It has the ability to store both. So we have some customers where they're purifying so much water they have to have a header tank. That header tank can be then controlled by this. And that can then be connected to the pure water, but by default the system is designed for pure water totalizing and dispatching.
One of the things that has been a common practice in several people is when they're pushing it back through that filtration process, is to put it back through the DI to get the water even cleaner.
Yeah. I suppose we would argue with our systems, because it's zero water, 0 ppm already, the only reason you're putting it back through the UV system is just because it has become stagnant, or you've got the risk of it becoming that way. So really the water should still be zero anyway. But yes, you could set it up, you could plumb it that way.
The question I'm leading to with that is that deionized water is really activated.
Yeah.
Okay, and over time it will become degraded with the ozone in the air.
Yeah.
It will no longer be active. So while it's still zero,
yeah,
it's not actually activated and trying to draw the calcium and magnesium and other dirts and things into itself to drag it down the building.
I'm with you.
And RO water won't do that. So the analogy would be, it'd be like you trying to push the water down your driveway with your spray nozzle versus the water collecting it up and carrying it down your driveway.
Yeah,
okay,
absolutely.
It's a lot easier with deionized water.
Yeah, absolutely.
So if the tank goes stale on a DI basis, and it could over a week if you haven't,
absolutely,
you know, it won't open necessarily on a large tank overnight, but a week's worth could have the ozone in the air become clean, and now you've got a slightly dead tank, and that won't clean as well. So possibly putting it back through the DI would be an opportunity for someone there to keep that activated water.
That's the fantastic thing with the system and all of our products, is that they are adaptable, they're future-proof, so features like that can be easily integrated into customer requirements.
I can see where the customer would need to talk to you about what they're trying to accomplish and how they use the system in order to get it configured properly for their environment.
I agree with you there. All of our systems are modular, and yes, we have standardized systems that we fit together, but I think every single sale that we make, a customer has a slight adjustment, because everybody has a slightly different way of working.